crazy experience. And by the way, I feel like I'm dying. Go in, see a doctor, see another doctor. They run a blood work on me. They take me to the back. They're like, "Oh, sir, there's something wrong with your blood work. Something seems off." And
Ladies and gentlemen,
you are now about to witness
the journey that is the Lyfe Choyces podcast.
Yeah!
You're an MMA fighter. What division?
I am a professional welterweight.
Okay. And you have, well, by the time this is aired, you will already have won your match, but you have a match coming up in 2 weeks.
2 weeks, August 16th.
August 16th. And you had just mentioned that you were out of training for a year.
I was actually out of training much longer than that. I was going to have a #1 contender fight for a promotion out of Tennessee, but I broke my hand the week before the fight. It's chaotic, total freak accident, blow my hand out. I tried everything I could to make it to the fight, still training. It just didn't happen. So I ended up having hand surgery. They fixed my hand. It takes 2 or 3 months to really make sure my hand's good so I can fight again. And first week back, I ended up blowing my neck out. C5, C6, and C6, C7. I had, I think it was a 10mm herniation, and just the most excruciating thing I've ever been through in my life. It didn't matter what you did, what time of day, sleeping, you're just constant pain all the time. I started training MMA when I was 14 years old. So I was still in middle school training. I started fighting in 2013. And around this time, this was about 2018 when I got hurt. So I've been fighting for about 5 years. And I had been pro for 2 at this point. So I was already, at this point in my career, I was 3-0 as a pro.
3-0 as a pro. You were how old at the time?
I was 24.
24 years old, living your dream. At 24, which is unbelievable for most people. Yeah. And all of a sudden, and you were explaining that the neck injury kind of just, you were just training or whatever, and you just felt something. It just kind of froze you up.
Yeah. We had a wrestling practice that day, and I went to do a certain technique, and I just felt this electric shock go through my whole body. And it was a very unique feeling. If you've ever grabbed like an electric wire or anything, it felt like that. It just, my whole body jolted. And I knew something was wrong. They did like a CT scan on me. They gave me some muscle relaxers, and I think it was a prednisone dose pack, try to calm my pain. And then for the next 12 days, I stayed in bed. I didn't go to work. I didn't get up because even just walking or sitting down was just excruciating. I had to travel back home and get an MRI done.
Travel back home, meaning like on a plane, a car?
No, I drove. I horrible. And even during the drive, I had to put 2 pillows down on my seat to make it extremely soft so it didn't hurt me.
And you were driving?
I was driving.
Fuck.
I mean, at this point in my life, with everything going on, I was poor, struggling, I was trying to, I was an up and coming fighter. I was really trying to make things happen. So I didn't really have a whole lot of money. And then, I go back to Georgia, I have an MRI done, and then we could really see the full extent of the injury.
That's hectic. Your early 20s, living your dream, and then all of a sudden this kind of like curveball comes to you. You get obviously the right person, the MRI done, and then they tell you exactly what's going on, and then there's obviously surgery and then recovery. And they're telling you, what were they telling you? No more fighting? Or were they telling you?
So I went to about 3 different surgeons, and everyone told me, "Hey, this is it, man. You should go find something else to do with your life. You had a good run at it. No more fighting." And it was depressing.
I was going to ask you, like, mentally as a fighter, your mental has to be there. Like that is such a high priority. It's not just your physical training, but your mental ability is, I would imagine, very key in becoming a champion in the MMA.
It's huge. It's the most important.
And now they're telling you, like, they're literally fucking with your brain. Not only telling you that your neck is fucked and like you probably can't fight, but hearing that as a human being, as a man, as an MMA fighter, you're in the worst mindset possible.
It's the worst. And it led to a lot of bad habits especially this year, because there was a time period when I got hurt, which was like July 24th of 2018. And then when I eventually had surgery, which was August 13th of 2019. So there was a whole year of, I couldn't train, couldn't do a whole lot. And it led to a lot of negative behavior, drugs, alcohol, running around, hanging out with the wrong crowd. If I would have been healthy and been in the gym, I would have avoided a lot of that. But I needed some type of outlet. So I went down the wrong path for a little bit.
And that's actually an interesting point, because it seems that a lot of people who join MMA and get into it really well and really like for the right reasons and professionally, it is kind of like an outlet to stay away from the bad things. It's to keep you on the straight and narrow. What happened there to get you back into fighting?
So I was seeing this girl at the time, and I remember it was probably 11 a.m. or something. We're sitting in our backyard and we're smoking weed and just hanging out, and it just hit me. Like, what the fuck am I doing? I should be with the rest of the team. I should be working out. And here I am. And like, I was out of shape. I was getting fat, and just smoking weed, and I'm drinking. And I'm like, I can't keep doing this. I'm like, if I'm going to make a real run at this, if I'm going to make this happen, I'm going to have the surgery. At least I gave it my best shot. And I was very fortunate that where I'm from, there was a doctor from Brazil who moved to my hometown. I went and saw him, and he was the one doctor that said, hey, I'll make it sure that you can fight again. And I gave this guy 100% of my trust. I had that surgery done, and it took me to be fight ready again. It took me probably about 13 months.
You know that you have this new stuff in your neck. There's got to be a level of cautiousness playing a role in your brain while you're fighting, which I'm assuming would kind of hold you back from really excelling to that level that you were once at.
It definitely, early on, it was always in the back of my mind, like, shit, what if something happens? What if I end up paralyzed? And I went through all the emotions and all the fear, but there was just something inside of me that said, no, we have to do this. We're just going to keep working. We're going to make it happen. I don't know if you ever heard the term, like, they burn the boats. There's no turning back.
Yes, I have a lot with the stuff I read and the stuff I watch. That's actually very much a common thing.
I burned the boats. And I was like, no, I'm going to get healthy, whatever it takes. And I'm going to return to this. I'm going to make this happen.
And what has happened since you returned to the octagon?
A lot. When I moved back home, I realized my dad was pretty sick. His mental health was declining rapidly. It got so bad where his job fired him. And my dad had a stroke. I'm like 25 at the time, 26. And I went from being like this single guy, living in South Florida, living life, to now I'm a caretaker for my father. And I don't know what the future lies. And I know I'm still a fighter. I haven't fought yet since my surgery, but here's my dad. And my dad is, he's nearing the end of his life, and I have to be the son. I have to be there to take care of him. I have to do everything I can. And so taking care of my father, taking care of our family farm, being there for my mom, doing everything that I can be, try to be a good son. And during this time, my manager calls me. He goes, hey, we have a fight for you. I have to take it. And it was, I think, 3 or 4 weeks notice.
3-week notice. You're taking care, you're helping house and home for your parents. You're still in recovery / training to get back into the ring. And here comes your promoter saying, okay, we got something for you, but it's in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And what was the outcome?
I finished the guy in, I think, like 39 seconds, 38 seconds. It felt great, man. There's
on so many levels of redemption, right?
So many levels. And I can tell you this, I take this guy down and I choke him unconscious. He's completely out. And I scream after the fact. And that's like the emotion of years and years of just the struggles,
you have the worry of never being someone telling you that you're never going to do what you love to do the rest of your life. Right.
Yeah.
You also have the stresses of you're a parent being not well and another parent needing your help financially. That's just the tip of the iceberg with everything else that's been bottled up for a couple of years. Hell yeah, dude. That energy release must have been massive.
Massive, man. And it was just it was surreal in a lot of ways because people told me you weren't going to do this again. And here I am doing this again.
Not just doing this, successfully doing it because your ass won.
During this time period as well, my father's health is declining. It's getting worse and worse and worse. And you're seeing this because you spend every day with him. So you're watching the slow decline and the inevitable is going to happen. So in between this fight, my dad died on, I think he had another massive stroke like December 29th, 30th. And then he died like 2 days later.
Of what year?
Of 22.
Okay.
23. A few days later, probably 2 weeks. I think 2 weeks, a little more than a few days. My manager comes to me again. He goes, hey, there's another fight coming up. It's in April. So it gives me some time to train for it. I said, okay. Like, tough guy, really good pay. So of course I'm going to take it. So working through these emotions of losing my father, struggles and everything. And I go into this fight, I lose again.
4-2.
4-2. And this is when I hit fucking rock bottom.
Why do you think 2 back-to-back losses?
You know, looking back now, I can see there was a lot of things going on in my life, like mentally. You know, the physical aspects were there.
The mental wasn't.
The mental wasn't. It wasn't a connection. There was something
It was not aligned.
It was not aligned at all. And now, you know, I've taken myself out of that position. Like when you're in the heat of the moment, it's hard to tell. But now that I've taken a step back, I can see like, oh, this was a very hectic point in my life. You know, training was not ideal where I was at training at. Family life was crazy. Of course, you know, of course you're probably not going to have the best.
Well, like we're saying, it's not just the physical training and the technical aspects of what you do. It's the mental part is a very large portion of the game.
It's so huge. It's so huge, man. And there was a lot of things that mentally, like watching your own father slowly pass away in front of you, that I couldn't at the time. Like I didn't know what was happening to me. Like I was having horrible anxiety and I was having panic attacks and I couldn't put my finger on it. Like, why is this happening? Now I look back and I see, all this stress, all the emotions that you go through.
Dude, this little computer system we have up here is very fickle. And sometimes we do not know the reasons why things are happening until much later on when we're able to look back and dissect exactly, okay, what train of thought was I in there? What did I go through? What was happening in my life? And once you see all that, like losing anybody, regardless, mom, dad, sibling, super, super close friend, it does something to you subconsciously because you are in the forefront of seeing how you are mortal and how fragile life is and how much can change in a second.
Split of a second. It's crazy.
So how did you get your mental aspect of the game back?
I let it go. Whatever happens, happens. I used to want to be very OCD about it, very controlling. And then I just stopped worried about everything. Go to Atlanta. I make weight and we're on the way back home. And then my girlfriend breaks up with me. So it's just like
one thing after another.
One thing after another, man. The next night, pack my bags, go to Atlanta. And I had the fight of my life.
Really?
It was chaotic and crazy and just a barn burner of a fight. It's tough, man. He busted me up. I was bleeding, busted my shins up. We had a good back and forth fight. I remember in the 3rd round, he threw a kick and then I turned my knee out just the right ankle and it snapped his leg. So he went to put his weight back on it and he couldn't stand up and he ends up falling to the ground. And yeah, I had to hop right on him, man.
Just attacked him.
I probably hit him 6, 7, 8 more times.
And they
stopped it. And I had to, man. It was either going to be me or it was going to be him. And damn sure it wasn't going to be me this time. I'd been through it. You know, now I felt like, fuck, man, I lost 2 in a row, but I just got this finish. You know, things are looking up for me, but I need to make some changes in my career. I need to put the best gym I can, be back there training. And I packed my bags and 2 weeks later, I moved back to Florida. I'm going to be honest. I didn't know how it was going to work out. I just knew it was going to work out.
So what'd you do? You just showed up to the gym and said, hey, I
have very good relationships with the coaches there. We've always stayed in contact. I was always a good training partner, a good fighter, respectful person, never had any issues with anybody. I gave them a call. I told them I was coming back and they said, come on in. This was such a quick, I found a small studio apartment on a Sunday night and I drove down that Monday. I paid the deposit and everything. I drove back to Georgia and by Wednesday I was back. You know, having the motivation post breakup to try to do something with your life and feeling this fire under you, like, oh, now I can make this happen. I feel free in a lot of ways. And this is nothing, you know, I spoke about this before with people. I loved my father dearly. I loved him more than anything. But those years I had to take care of him and I had to be by his side while he slowly passed away. But now that he'd passed, I felt like, okay, I can live my life a little more. I can live
a weight has been lifted. You made a very tough choice in life, which was giving up what you love to do in order to be there for your dad in those times. I actually, fortunately, I got to see my dad before he passed. It was 7 weeks from the day he got diagnosed to the day he passed. He had ended up getting 2 different stage 4 cancers. And so I went home for a little bit, and I was able to go with him to chemo and stuff like that. And then I left, cause I went back to work for a 2-week charter. And by the time that charter was over, the phone call and, gone. But I actually had this thought just the other day. It's so interesting that you bring this up. Or this happened to you. I thought about the other day is like what I should have done back then is I should have called the owner that I worked for instead of the captain and said, listen, this is the state my dad's in. I don't want to lose my job, but I have to go home for a couple of weeks. I didn't. Like the last time I saw my dad was at his house, at his condo, chatted with him. It was very, very good. My brothers and the rest of the family saw what you saw. Those last few weeks of completely deteriorating to the point of, and that's it. And then the next time I saw him was in the casket, and that does a number on you. Absolutely. So what you did, that choice really wasn't a choice. You did what you had to, but yeah, now, that has been, you've gone through that process. You've gone through that part of your journey, and yeah, a weight's lifted. Now you can go back to focusing on, you're a young man. You can go back to focusing on what people are telling you you're never going to go do again.
Here I am.
Right?
Somehow still going. They signed me to fight again. And I went up to Philadelphia. Again, me and a coach and a few friends, we hop on a plane and we go up to Philadelphia and fight the hometown guy. I lost the first round, admittedly. It was a little better than I expected. But then the second round and the third round, I had the motivation, the urgency to really try to finish this guy. Thankfully, he won the first. I won the last 2. I got the W that night. And now I feel like, okay, now I lost those 2 fights. I just won 2 in a row, 6-2. I have it back on track. Here we are, trying to make some headway and trying to make it somewhere.
And crazy. Is that where you're at now, 6-2?
I'm 6-2 right now.
So you're probably on some of these guys' radar right now.
For sure. I think I am, especially with me training an American Top Team. There's a lot of unbelievably high level fighters that I train with.
So you got to drop weight to get into, otherwise you can't fight.
Yeah, you'd be overweight.
But then you be overweight for the fight.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
It's dumb.
Yeah. But it's water weight. It's not like you just packed on like 20 pounds of steak.
Yeah, but it definitely is a very performance enhancing,
Right.
If I'm and let me put it this way for you. If we're fighting and I'm 5-10 pounds bigger than you, you can notice it in a fight, in a one-on-one situation like this, especially when your muscles are rehydrated and you feel good and you have some food in you. It's such a performance enhancer versus being drained and not feeling good, feeling weak. It's huge. And I could speak on this on cutting weight. So when I fought in Philadelphia, I make weight. Making the weight wasn't the issue, but I got sick after the fact. I was trying to drink water and I'm throwing everything back up. Everything I drink, I throw it back up. And then my stomach was empty and I was throwing up this like bile. It was horrific. And then panicking a little bit because I made 170 pounds, but now I'm even below that. I'm even getting lower and lower. And they're like, well, we got to take you to the hospital. Fuck, man, we got to go to the hospital. Yeah, you need to go see a doctor. You need to get IVs in you. You need to do everything, try to get you right. So we ended up going to this hospital, which was a crazy experience. We're in downtown. I don't know if you've ever been to Philadelphia before.
No.
And anyone who's listening to this, maybe they know this area, but the area that we were in was just crazy homeless people laying in the middle of the street. It's wild. The lobby for the emergency room was just packed with people screaming and crazy experience. And by the way, I feel like I'm dying during this time. And go in, see a doctor, see another doctor. They run a blood work on me. They take me to the back. They're like, oh, sir, there's something wrong with your blood work. Something seems off. And of course, I just cut massive amounts of weight. They hooked me up. I think they ran 2 or 3 IV bags in me. They give me, I think it's called Zofran. It's for like nausea and you're throwing up. They give me all this. And then I finally start to feel better. Finally doing it. Like, sir, we'd recommend you don't fight tomorrow.
You're like, fuck that advice.
Of course, you just tell them like, yeah, I'm not going to fight tomorrow night. And then I remember that we'd like you to stay the night just to make sure you're okay. Like, no, we're not going to. So I remember I signed myself out. We drove back to the hotel. I eat and I drink, and I wake up the next morning and it's fight night.
That's it.
That's it. We're going to go fight. I don't care if I spent, the night before in the hospital. I signed a contract. This is what I'm going to do. I mean, again, like I said before, there was an easy way out. I could say, hey, I got sick. I don't want to fight. That's a good excuse. You went to the hospital. But no, the boats have been burned. We're going to go fight. We're going to make this happen.
It's so interesting because the average person that might watch MMA at their local bar, they don't know about all these other things that go on behind the scenes and what the process is like trying to get up to the level of UFC, to be signed by the UFC and to be on those tickets is way different. And then the fact that you got to drop weight and then you got to fight you have 24 hours to kind of gain as much water weight back in order to be able to, because when you drop that weight, you're not 100%, like you just can't be, right? So it's very interesting to learn all of the different aspects of it. So now you're 2 weeks away. I have to imagine, like, are you training every single day right now?
Train every single day.
Twice a day.
And I have a pretty hectic schedule as well. I actually work at Monroe's now, and I stay busy, and we stay open till 5 a.m.
So how does that work though? Because if you're fighting professionally and you're bouncing, I mean, there's the possibility, and I get it, more times than not, all you're really doing is maybe locking someone up and walking them out. You're not really getting into a fight, but you still got to be cautious because, one wrong person and boom, you're going to be out again.
I would say at a regular nightclub, you would have those issues more, but thankfully where I work now, I don't have any of those issues. And the biggest thing I do at Monroe's is to pick up money, get girls to the stage. Fridays and Saturdays are rough.
Okay.
Because obviously those are the busier nights. You're going to leave there 6:30. So, I mean, the latest I've ever left there is probably like 7:30. It's chaotic.
I have not been inside of Monroe's in a minute. I think the last time, oh God, I think the last time I went there might have been with TJ, and I was lit.
Yeah,
I was like front and center. I still remember the last two girls that went on stage to dance because it was a night. I was done. But yeah, it's been a minute since I've been in there.
Yeah, I mean, before I worked there, every time I went there, obliterated, just out of my mind.
Here I am sitting, just visualizing you on the biggest UFC ticket fight ever, and going to be able to say, well, like, man, I remember when he was telling me that he did Uber and like all these other things that like the story, like your story is so phenomenal that right now you have some notoriety within the industry. Clearly people know who you are within the family of MMA fighting. Yeah. And there has to be people obviously taking a look at you that are talking to the higher ups in the MMA and be like, okay, let's watch him over the next couple fights. And then, okay, then this is a guy that we're going to have to like get on a ticket and see what we can do with this kid. And it'll be absolutely amazing, when the Netflix special comes out for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not impossible,
no, it's not.
Especially if you keep going at the level that you are and stay focused. The face lights up every time you talk about the fighting. Thank you so much, Lindsay, for coming over today and talking to us about the MMA. It's amazing.
No, thank you so much for having me. This was a great experience.
It's just the first time you've been on. So we're going to do this. We're going to do this again soon, probably maybe at the end of August. We can have you back and we can find out all about your win.
Perfect, man. Let's do it.
Appreciate that. For everyone out there in the Lyfe Choyces land, thank you very much for coming back each and every week here. We'll see you next Tuesday at 2 p.m. Much love, everybody.
You are now about
The Journey, Life Choices podcast.